Good day. My name is Stuart Warman. I'm with ServiceNow. I want to thank you for looking at this video presentation of ServiceNow and our partner, LL Bean, who's implemented ServiceNow. I'm going to walk you through a brief presentation on who ServiceNow is and the value we bring to IT service management, and then turn it over to Diane Adams to walk through their use of ServiceNow. So, who is ServiceNow? We are the leading provider of cloud-based services automating IT operations, and we at this point have over 1,200 customers across around the world in all industries, from retail to federal to financial and everything else. I'll show you a brief list of our customers in a little bit. On June 29th, ServiceNow made its initial public offering. We were the first successful IPO after Facebook. So things are up and to the right for ServiceNow, both in terms of growth of customers, in terms of growth of revenue, and how our business is going. In 2011, Deloitte Technology made us, determined that we were the #1 fastest growing software company in the U.S. Forbes named us a promising company. And if you look at SaaS providers for IT service management, it's been determined that we have 90% market share in that space. So why are things going so well for ServiceNow? Well, it has everything to do with what's going on in the IT organization. There's a much greater number of technologies coming into the environment and pressure points. And there's no let up in terms of the cost pressure or the budget pressure in the organization. So everybody's trying to do something a little bit smarter and a little bit more automated, and that's where ServiceNow comes in. So our customers typically choose ServiceNow for the following reasons. They may have, at this point, fragmented IT service management tools and applications. If you think about it, most companies have automated every other part of the business, from finance to supply chain management to HR and sales management. And what they haven't automated yet is their IT organization. And most IT organizations that we work with have fragmented tools, either in spreadsheets or SharePoint or a service desk here and a service desk in another part of the business or another part of the world that is supporting IT. So the first value in typical transformation for our customers is to get a consolidated single system of record for IT service management. And that means also converting the help desk into more self-service functionality, changing whatever is being managed to being automated as much as possible, and leveraging our platform for shared services in IT as well as the line of business, and I'll explain that a little bit more here. The consolidated value proposition is the ability to pull all these systems into a single system of record. Flextronics is one of our customers, and their estimate is they've saved over $1 million in operational expenses by consolidating all their disparate IT management tools within ServiceNow. Locally, we work with Staples as well as LL Bean. Staples Corporation had multiple service desks on BMC in other parts of the world as well as other parts of the business, and they pull it all together in ServiceNow as well. So it in effect removes redundancy of different service desks. It aggregates, well, it removes fragmentation, but more importantly, it aggregates a lot of different ITSM processes, such as CMDBs and software development lifecycle and reporting tools all into a single system of record in ServiceNow. And as a result, the reporting is tremendously easier in ServiceNow, and that increases transparency out to the line of business. Another big wave moving customers or motivating customers to adopt ServiceNow is IT self-servicing and the concept of IT service catalog. If you think about it, this is like a menu of services from IT to its customers, to its line of business, and to its users. If people went into a restaurant and could order anything they wanted, regardless of what was on the menu, the kitchen would have a big challenge turning out quality meals as well as getting things out on a timely basis. So what's being adopted by our customers is the vision of a storefront of applications and services that are available from IT, and allowing the users to self-service things like password resets and profile updates so that the IT organization can focus on more complex related stuff. BYU is a customer of ServiceNow's and put a lot of focus on their service catalog. This is their IT service catalog out to their faculty, their staff, and their students, and this is all built right on top of ServiceNow. Automation is the answer for a lot of IT management organizations that are spending time developing scripts, running scripts that do redundant tasks, and want to make them more consistent in terms of quality and more quickly turned around. Two great customer examples here are Cardinal Health, which used to take 5 days to provision a VM, and now through the service catalog and their automation, they can provision a VM in 10 minutes. Another great customer example is Morrison and Foerster Law Firm. They were able to automatically upgrade over 2,500 Windows XP systems onto Windows 7 by leveraging automation. So automation use cases can go from things like I mentioned in terms of password resets and provisioning and decommissioning VMs, as well as new hiring, onboarding and separation processes, creating Active Directory accounts. Automation is a Gatling gun for IT organizations as we look at it. A fourth area of value for ServiceNow is in aggregating requests coming into IT. CERN is a customer that did this for shared services. They are looking at legal, HR, and facilities where they have similar workflows, and they can front-end those requests and manage the workflows through ServiceNow. So ServiceNow isn't just addressing IT's automation and processes, but also line of business as well. An example of this is Netflix, customer of ServiceNow's, and they got very cute using their titles. Help is asking for IT support. The accepted video is asking for IT access. Bob Builder is asking for facilities, and Wall Street represents purchasing. But down below, you see all of the different lines of business that they can facilitate through their catalog of services being represented by different movie titles. And the fifth area of value that we bring to customers, hopefully triggering some thoughts and ideas for how ServiceNow can be used beyond just ITSM, is Staples built a rebates tracking application. So if you were to expect a rebate and you went into a store and you wanted to see what the status of that rebate is, you could ask a clerk in a Staples store, and they would open up an application within ServiceNow to collect your information and escalate the request for the rebates. NYK Logistics built another application on top of ServiceNow that provides real-time requests for space in in containers, so that they can fill up the containers as much as possible, and their clients can self-service themselves in terms of requesting these spaces. This is just repeating some of the things that we talked about. Jackson Labs has a laboratory mouse reporting application. One of my favorite non-ITSM applications is the National Basketball Association, the NBA, built a complete application including all of the equipment that's necessary to deliver a game and venue broadcast. So if somebody's having an issue with a camera or a microphone, they can manage that through ServiceNow. All of that equipment are considered CIs, or configuration items. Tickets can be opened, the equipment can be swapped out, repaired, and delivered on to the next game down the line. So the ServiceNow application looks like this. Most customers, when they start with ServiceNow, they look at the operational applications. They're usually looking to enhance or replace their current service management, service desk technologies. So they focus on incident management, perhaps adding some maturity with problem management, leading into change management. This is all integrated with our infrastructure applications for the CMDB. Our asset management application also includes software lifecycle asset management, which is getting a lot of attention right now because of the audits that are being requested by different vendors in the IT industry. And of course, all of this information, because it's all shared on a single database with interrelated tables and interrelated task tables, is easily reportable in the service portfolio and the IT cost management applications built in ServiceNow. So I'll just point out that the way ServiceNow licenses our technology is, when you license ServiceNow, you license a process user, and all of the process users are entitled to these applications, whether they're operational applications like incident problem change, or development applications like our project and portfolio management application, our SDLC, release management application. And again, the value is they're all integrated together. We provide chat functionality within ServiceNow. There's a knowledge management capability. There's also a survey capabilities in ServiceNow, which is very much supportive of the ITIL-centric processes that we deliver out of the box. Two applications in the bottom right, Discovery and Runbook Automation, are licensed separately. Discovery is an agentless technology that pulls your server information and application information into ServiceNow and builds an application dependency map of the business services you're delivering through your applications. So you can map which infrastructure components deliver, for instance, email, or Oracle, or SAP, and this pays off significantly for incident problem and change management, but also helps as well for asset management. Runbook Automation is a superset of our built-in graphical workflow capabilities in ServiceNow. So within ServiceNow, all of the workflow necessary for escalation, notification, approvals is built into ServiceNow. But if you want to step outside of what's in ServiceNow and run a script that's going to provision or decommission a VM, or add people to Active Directory, or do anything with employee onboarding or offboarding outside of ServiceNow, that's where Runbook Automation kicks in. By having all these module applications and tasks integrated on one system, what that allows you to do is report on the demand coming into IT by the task types. So here we're looking at a graph that shows us that well over 75% of the tasks coming into IT are just to keep the lights on between incidents and change requests. And this would allow management to focus on some of those areas in order to automate them and allow more time for IT to focus on value-add functionality like project tasks, defects, enhancements, things like that. If you take it to the next level, you can actually see what's being worked on by the business service that's being delivered by the application. So in this case, we see email is sticking out because a number of project tasks are not necessarily being completed, and we have a number of catalog tasks that are outstanding as well. So this may allow management to focus additional resources on email to get the project tasks addressed, the catalog tasks addressed, so that it would require fewer resources in the future. You can break it all the way down to what the individual is working on as well. So by consolidating all of the IT service management functionality in one platform, you can see the changes that a particular person is working on or assigned to, the number of incidents that have been assigned, the problems that have been assigned, the request items that have been assigned, and the problems that have and the problem tasks that have been assigned. And this helps that individual prioritize things, not just first in, first out, but also, what are the value add tasks that they can work on. So as I mentioned earlier, the way most companies start with ServiceNow is in core ITSM, meaning operational, incident, problem, change, CMDB, could be release management as well. They add automation through self-service and add more functionality through automated service automation. ServiceNow is built on a very sophisticated, very secure, very highly redundant architecture. Unlike other technologies in the cloud space and the SaaS space, we provide single tenant functionality to our customers. What that does is improve the availability and the scalability of the systems and allows the users to have much more control over the timing of their upgrades. Not everybody is forced to do an upgrade at the same time. So as I mentioned at the very top, we have customers across all the major industries. Obviously in the financial services industry as well as the retail industry, there's a lot of concern about security. In the consumer and pharma area, Johnson & Johnson, Bristol-Myers Squibb, all these customers get a very secure, scalable environment through ServiceNow as well as all the applications that we talked about previously. My final slide here is an invitation to consider attending our Knowledge 13 user group meeting in May of next year. This is the largest single gathering of ITSM professionals in the industry on an annual basis. This past year, with about 1,000 employees, 1,000 customers, we had over 2,000 attendees to our user group meeting. It's an opportunity for peer exchange as well as hundreds of labs and training opportunities on how to use ServiceNow. So I thank you for your time and allowing me to introduce ServiceNow. And at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Diane to share with you how LL Bean modernized and transformed their ITSM with ServiceNow.
All right, thanks, Stuart. I will talk about how LL Bean implemented ServiceNow for the new ITSM program. So this is our agenda. Talking about business and technical drivers for our new ITSM solution at LLbeam. I'll be talking about our evaluation criteria and process that we went through, why we chose ServiceNow, how the implementation is going, and next steps in future process automation plans. So we had some business challenges and opportunities when we first started with this. We had a 12-year-old HP Service Center application that hadn't been upgraded. And because of that, we had very poor reporting. We didn't have any kind of chat capabilities, no self-service. And it was kind of a standalone thing where there was no integration really with any of our other ITSM type of tools. Also, the licensing model was very restrictive, where we had to have a certain number of users in a certain role. So that was quite restrictive in that matter. And also, the application the UI was very old and antiquated. And some of the challenges moving to the SaaS model was this was really our first SaaS application that we would be using in our IT department, and there was some trepidation there with some of the higher level management. And our timeline and budget was, our timeline was like 12 weeks, and we had a very set budget. And the timeline actually was driven by our peak business, which starts in November. So the next slide, technical considerations that we thought about was the modern UI that ServiceNow presented. It was all on one platform. All the databases were integrated, well, one single database. And the fact that it was a SaaS model would allow some of our internal resources to focus on other areas. Relationship considerations, the company culture with ServiceNow seemed very similar to LLbeam, so it fit very well. Our implementation delivery considerations, like I said, we had a tight timeline, 12 weeks to get this all done. And the old application that we had, HP Service Center, we didn't have much institutional knowledge in-house, so trying to map functions from the old application to the new was a challenge. Cost considerations, we were not allowed to exceed our budget or increase our total cost of ownership with a new application. And the timing considerations were we had a renewal due with HP Service Center just before peak, and then, like I said, we had our peak business coming up, and we have a freeze when that happens, so we had to get it all done before peak started in November. So some of the considerations, the application is a totally integrated suite of applications, all for one price. So currently we had, well, before we had ServiceNow, we had Service Center for our ITSM application for ticketing of incident problems and changes. And then we had a separate application called HP Asset Center that was all around IT asset management for IT finance. So any integration that happened there had to be done manually and by us, whereas ServiceNow is totally integrated. The architecture of ServiceNow, like I said, is really built from the ground up to be a SaaS application. It's got built on one platform, one database, and the company direction at LLbeam was to go with SaaS. So this is the perfect solution for us. The market space, I did some research, and it seemed as though ServiceNow was really the leader in SaaS delivery. So that's why we went with ServiceNow. So the initial project lessons learned were that the integrations with ServiceNow was the biggest piece of work. So getting all of the data into ServiceNow, we had employee information that we had to pull in, asset information from our Asset Center database, all of our automated changes and incidents. We had to integrate all of those via email. So that was a good chunk of work trying to map all that data. We did choose not to migrate our existing incidents. The data was not all that good, and it would have been painful trying to map Service Center to ServiceNow database columns, basically. The change process and procedures was huge for us. People were used to the old application. People don't like change. We changed a few business processes, and people were not really on board with that. We had to do a lot of training, kind of change management of our department, as well as out in the business, to let them know that it was going to be a different application, different processes. We did use a third-party implementer, and that was huge as well. We used Fruition, and they actually know the application very, very well, and they did almost all of the configuration for the application. Like I said, training was fairly large for us, and documentation for the end user was key to the success of this project. So the functionality that we delivered was incident, problem, change, and we actually included the on-call application, and that was done all in 12 weeks. It was a pretty tight timeline, but we pulled it all together, and we're very happy with the end result. So we're continuing on. Our next application that we delivered was Service Catalog. So we have a bunch of request processes that are serviced by ServiceNow's Service Catalog. We have software requests and hardware requests. They're all going through there right now, and we're going to be building on top of that. Again, change management was huge because anybody out in the business can actually request a piece of software or a piece of hardware. So along with that comes the approval process, and that has changed significantly. Previously, it was all tracked via email. You'd send an email to the approver, and they'd approve, and then you'd have to send the email to security, and they would do their work. And none of this was tracked. It was all manual. So it's been a big change for us. Some of the new process automation issues that we're going to be looking at is employee onboarding. At our peak business time, we usually onboard around 5,000 employees. So we're hoping to try to automate some of that for especially our security group, where they give access to all the applications. We want to roll out self-help. Right now, we haven't rolled that out yet, where people in the business could actually open incidents on their own. CMDB and discovery, we actually have the CMDB populated, but it's all manual. It's information coming from our old Asset Center database, and it's not all that accurate. And then asset management, we do plan on retiring our Asset Center application in favor of ServiceNow, and we'll be starting that project up first part of September this year. So everybody's very excited about that. And that's all of my slides. Thank you for allowing me to present.